Hi guys, welcome back. It's Megan again, and I'm so excited to see you this week. We're going to start a brand new lesson this week about how God uses us to do amazing things. When Jesus was on earth, he performed some pretty awesome miracles, and people saw how amazing God was through him. They got to see that God can do amazing things. Jesus even raised people from the dead. And when Jesus left earth to return to heaven, he promised his disciples that the Holy Spirit would come and give them power for the same authority to do some amazing things too. And they did. Through the power of the Holy Spirit, both Peter and Paul brought people back to life, raised them from the dead. And guess what? Jesus also said that you and I could receive the same power from the Holy Spirit by becoming Christians. Okay, now I want you guys to keep all these things in mind while I tell you a story that comes to us from Acts 20, verses 7 through 12. This story happens in just 6 verses, but man, is it cool. Now you guys can close your eyes and you can relax if you want to while I tell you about this story that happens in Acts. Just try not to fall asleep like the little boy did in this story. Believe me, you're gonna want to hear the end of this one. Paul had spent a week in Troas and was about to leave, and he was probably thinking this was going to be his last chance to encourage the believers of Troas. And he wanted to pack as much sermon as he could into that last night. So he kept talking and talking until about midnight. Now, how many of you guys know that when it gets to be about midnight, it's pretty hard to stay awake? At least it is for me. And there was a young man there named Eutychus. And Eutychus was probably only between the ages of 8 and 14 years old. And while Paul was a wonderful and gifted man who spoke with wisdom, he had also set up himself that when it came to preaching, his style lacked eloquence. Now, Eutychus was sitting next to a window, probably trying to get some fresh air and keep himself alert for this message that he was hearing. But unfortunately, that's not what happened, and Eutychus fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he fell right from the window, on the 3rd floor, you guys. And unfortunately, when he fell to his death. Paul interrupted his talk when he saw Eutychus fall, and he and the others went downstairs right away to help Eutychus, but they found him dead. Paul wasn't ready to give up on his encouragement just yet. He bent over Eutychus, or more accurately, he fell on him, and he brought him back to life. And he reassured the onlookers with a simple, "Don't worry, he's alive." And then do you guys know what he did next? Paul went right back upstairs to participate in the Lord's Supper and continue on with his sermon. The commotion and the food must have re-energized the crowd because Paul continued to talk until dawn without any further incidents. Paul encouraged with more than just his words. Eutychus didn't stay for the rest of the sermon. He went home unharmed, probably with his family. But verse 12 tells us that everyone was greatly relieved with the turn of events. And whether or not the message that Paul gave would be enough for the people to remember for the rest of their lives, the amazing miracle that they had just saw would stick with them forever. Eutychus' presence among them would be a continuous reminder of God's power and the amazing event that they had just witnessed. Unlike many miraculous healings in the Bible, Paul didn't set out to heal a man who was already ill or someone who was already dead. He was just in the middle of doing something as simple as preaching when an opportunity presented itself for him to do something amazing. With God's power, Paul brought Eutychus back to life. You don't have to set out to do something amazing for God to use you in an amazing way. You just have to pay attention and be on the lookout for things that happen every day. Now, Paul could have given up. He could have even blamed himself for Eutychus' death and stopped his sermon right there, but he didn't, and neither should you. When we see the chance for God to use us, we need to press on, guys. Whether it seems like a really big or a really small thing, God can use us to do amazing things in the hearts and the lives of others. So my challenge for you guys this week is just to be on the lookout. Be present in the moment and be looking for moments when God can use you to do amazing things. And I know that He's going to present those opportunities because He wants to use you. He does, friends. Don't forget that we have a memory verse for August that comes to us from 1 Peter 3:15, and it says, if someone asks you about your Christian hope, always be ready to explain it. Can we say it one more time, guys? 1 Peter 3:15. If someone asks you about your Christian hope, always be ready to explain it. I hope you guys have a rest of your week, and I'll see you later. Bye.